The Dog Who Saved a Broken Man, a survival story that will change you. The boat rocked hard against the waves as Noah Grant clutched the sides, his hands red from gripping too tightly. The sky had turned dark faster than he expected. Thick clouds rolled in like angry fists, and the wind slapped the water into angry peaks. This wasn't how he planned it, but then again, Noah hadn't planned much of anything lately. It had been nearly a year since he lost his daughter, Lily. Since the accident, he had spoken less, slept less, eaten less. Everyone around him tried to help, but their words felt like cotton, soft but useless. So he left. He told no one, not even his brother. He packed light, a tent, some food, a flare, a water purifier, and his old paramedic bag. He hired a fisherman to drop him off on an island nobody used anymore, about 20 miles off the coast. He said it was for peace and reflection. But in Noah's mind, it was the place he'd finally let go and be there. That was 2 days ago. Now the storm was here, and Noah was no longer in control. His little dinghy flipped near the rocky edge of the island. Salt water hit his face as he gasped and kicked. He didn't remember how he reached the shore. All he remembered was crawling onto the sand, coughing up ocean water, and seeing his gear float away into the dark. Then, blackness. When Noah opened his eyes, it was morning. The storm had passed. The sky was now pale blue with a few lazy clouds drifting by. His clothes were still wet. He sat up slowly, his whole body aching. His backpack was gone. No food, no flare, no dry clothes. Only the medical bag strapped tight across his chest had survived. Perfect, he muttered, brushing sand from his face. He was cold, hungry, and dizzy. Stumbling through the trees that lined the beach, Noah found a narrow trail and followed it, half expecting it to lead nowhere. But about a mile in, the forest opened to a small clearing. There was a rock outcrop, some old tree stumps, and a strange rusted pipe sticking out of the ground. Nothing else. No cabins, no signs of life. Then a noise, soft, like a twig snapping. Noah spun around, heart racing. At first, he saw nothing. Then, from behind a tree, something moved. It was a dog. Thin, scruffy, with sand-colored fur matted in places. Its ears were alert, tail low. It didn't bark or growl. It just stared at Noah with deep brown eyes. "Hey," Noah said, his voice cracking. "Where'd you come from?" The dog tilted its head, then slowly walked toward him, step by careful step. Noah didn't move. He held out his hand, palm open. The dog stopped a few feet away and sniffed the air. "Are you alone out here too?" he asked. The dog sat down. Noah dropped to the ground, too tired to stand. "Guess that makes two of us." The dog watched him closely, then slowly stood and walked behind a bush. A moment later, it returned, carrying something in its mouth. Noah blinked. It was a half-rotted first aid pouch. The dog dropped it at his feet. Noah stared at it, confused. "Where did you get this?" The dog didn't answer, of course, but it sat down again, watching. Noah opened the pouch. Inside were old bandages, some gauze, a cracked flashlight, and a sealed water packet. He tore it open and drank it slowly, eyes never leaving the dog. "Thank you," he whispered. That night, Noah built a weak fire with twigs and dry leaves. The dog stayed nearby but never got too close. Noah didn't try to force it. He lay on the cold ground, staring at the stars. "Lily would have loved you," he said aloud. The dog's ears perked at her name. Sleep came in pieces, short dreams and long, aching silences. At dawn, he woke to the smell of something strange. Cooked fish. He sat up quickly and looked around. There, in front of the fire pit, was a pile of small fish, half charred from the dying flames. Noah's eyes widened. The dog was sitting a few feet away, again, tail wagging slowly. "You did this?" Noah asked. The dog barked once, quiet but clear. For the next few days, the pattern repeated. The dog, still nameless, would disappear during the day and return with something useful. A broken pot, a dirty blanket, more fish. Once, even a whole sealed bag of trail mix. Noah cleaned the blanket and slept better. He boiled the fish and felt strength return. The dog watched everything with sharp eyes, learning his routines. At night, Noah talked to it. "You know, I came out here to..." He hesitated, eyes looking away. "To stop being here. But now, I'm not sure." The dog tilted its head again. Noah sighed. "You're not just a stray, are you?" One afternoon, the dog led Noah down a new path. It moved ahead, then stopped and looked back, waiting. He followed. After about 30 minutes of hiking, they reached a small, overgrown area with a rusty metal roof barely peeking from the bushes. A ruined shack. Noah stepped closer. The wood creaked under his feet. Inside were faded papers, a broken chair, and a torn map pinned to the wall. The smell of mold hung in the air. In one corner, he found a plastic crate filled with books, toys, and dog treats? He turned toward the dog, who was watching from the doorway. Someone lived here. "You lived here," he whispered. On the floor, he spotted something that made his heart race. A faded photograph of a little girl, about 10 years old, hugging a puppy that looked just like the dog in front of him. Noah knelt down and picked up the photo. On the back, written in black ink, was a name: Mira. Noah held the old photograph in both hands, his fingers trembling. The girl in the picture looked so alive. Messy brown hair, bright eyes, and a gap-toothed grin that nearly made him smile. And the pup. The same sandy-colored fur, the same eyes. Noah glanced at the dog sitting just outside the shack, now resting its chin on its paws, watching him without blinking. "You were hers," Noah whispered. "Your name is Mira." The dog's ears twitched at the sound of the name. A low whine escaped its throat, soft but full of meaning. Noah felt something shift in his chest. A quiet break. Not the loud kind that comes from loss or anger. This one was gentle, like ice cracking after a long winter. The next few days were quiet but full. Noah spent time cleaning out the old shack. It became his new shelter. There was a small mattress in the corner, moldy but usable. He found a plastic bucket that could collect rainwater. The pot Mira had brought earlier worked perfectly for boiling. The dog stayed close now, not too close, but enough to know she was there. Noah still wasn't sure what to call her. Mira didn't feel right. That name belonged to the girl in the photo. The dog needed her own name. "You're not just anyone," Noah said one evening as they watched the fire crackle. "You brought me here. You brought me back." The dog looked at him, her tail thumping gently. "I'll call you Scout." Scout barked once, short and sharp. She liked it. Noah kept finding clues. Inside a rusted drawer, he found a notebook. The first few pages were covered in childish handwriting. Day 12. Scout caught a squirrel. I gave her extra treats. We miss Daddy, but I think we're okay. Day 24. I taught Scout a new command. She understands sign language. Day 41. The radio broke. Still no rescue. I think I have a fever. Scout stays close and keeps me warm. Noah swallowed hard as he read. The final page was shaky, the ink smeared. If anyone finds this, please take care of her. She's the smartest dog ever. Her name is Scout. There were no more entries. Noah pressed the notebook to his chest. He didn't cry. He wanted to, but the tears wouldn't come. Not yet. That night, something strange happened. Noah woke up to the sound of barking, sharp, frantic. "Scout?" he called, sitting up quickly. He was standing by the shack door, barking into the darkness. He grabbed the flashlight and opened the door. Out in the trees, a dark shape moved. His heart raced. "A person?" he whispered, but when he shined the light, it was a wild boar. Massive, angry. Its eyes caught the light and glowed red. Scout lunged, barking wildly. The boar snorted and stomped the ground. Noah backed away, but Scout stood her ground. She growled low and deep, teeth bared. The boar took one more step forward, then stopped. With a loud snort, it turned and disappeared into the trees. Noah knelt beside Scout. "You saved me." Scout licked his cheek once, then curled up by the door, watching the trees. Noah didn't sleep much after that, but he felt safer than he had in a long time. The next morning, Noah sat with Scout on a fallen log. He ran his hand along her back slowly. "You've been alone here a long time," he said. "How did you survive?" Scout rested her head on his leg, her eyes closing slightly. "You're waiting, weren't you?" A light breeze rustled the trees. Noah felt something settle in his heart. Not happiness, but something close. Maybe peace. As days turned to weeks, the island no longer felt like a prison. Noah and Scout developed a rhythm. She'd go off on her own in the mornings, returning with something helpful: berries, dried seaweed, or fish caught in shallow tide pools. Noah repaired what he could in the shack, collected rainwater, and kept the fire going. He started writing in Mira's notebook. The empty pages in the back were now filled with his messy handwriting. Day 10. Scout barked at a raccoon today. She chased it like it owed her money. Day 14. Made soup from mushrooms. Not terrible. Scout refused to eat it. Smart girl. Day 18. I think I want to live. The last entry made his chest tighten. Not because it was sad, because it was true. He had stopped thinking about death. Now he thought about firewood, fish traps, and Scout's paw pads. He thought about tomorrow. One afternoon, while digging near a patch of wildflowers, Noah found something strange. A buried box. Plastic. Weatherproof. He pulled it free and opened the latches. Inside were papers, maps, a compass, and a flare gun. With one flare left, he stared at it, her way off the island. Scout stood beside him, tail still. "You brought me here for a reason," Noah said quietly. "And now, I think you're showing me the way back." He set the box aside. Not yet. He wasn't ready. There was more to understand, more to heal. That night, Scout lay beside him inside the shack. It was the first time she chose to sleep so close. Noah lay awake, staring at the roof. "I don't know why you waited so long," he whispered, "but I'm glad you did." Scout sighed softly and nuzzled his shoulder. Noah closed his eyes. And this time, he dreamed of Lily. Not the accident, but a memory. Her laughter. Her small hands trying to braid his hair. Her voice yelled, "Daddy, watch me!" He woke up smiling.
The day started quiet. The ocean was calm, the sky painted soft orange by the early sun. Scout trotted ahead, tail wagging as if she already knew where they were going. Noah followed, his boots crunching over dry leaves and sticks. He didn't ask questions anymore when she led him somewhere. He had learned to trust her completely. They climbed a slope Noah hadn't noticed before. It was steep and hidden behind a tangle of vines. Scout paused every few feet to look back, making sure he was still with her. Okay, I'm coming," he said between breaths, wiping sweat from his forehead. At the top of the slope, the trees opened into a clearing. There, surrounded by moss and overgrowth, stood a broken wooden structure, bigger than the shack they'd been staying in. This place looked like it once had solar panels on the roof. A wire antenna leaned sideways, rusted and useless. Scout walked straight to the door and sat. Noah stepped inside slowly. It was like walking into a forgotten story. Inside, dust floated in beams of sunlight, swirling like tiny ghosts. Shelves lined the walls, some still holding old equipment, radios, notebooks, tangled wires. There was a table in the center with scattered papers and a water-damaged laptop. But what caught Noah's eye was the far wall. It was covered in pinned-up maps, drawings, and photographs. He stepped closer. Dozens of pictures. Most were of Mira and Scout, some taken by hand, some printed. In one, Mira stood proudly beside Scout, who wore a tiny red vest. In another, she held up a notebook with the title Project Guide Dog 3.0 written in marker. Beneath it was a printed article from a local newspaper. 10-year-old genius trains dog to understand 50 commands. Noah read on. Mira Holland, child of two field researchers, began training her mixed-breed pup Scout using advanced methods of reinforcement, sign language, and sound cues. She's a once-in-a-lifetime mind, her mother said. She wants to use her gifts to help people. Mira and her parents plan to spend a summer on a private island for an experimental research retreat. They'll be testing Scout's ability to work in rescue and emergency scenarios. Noah sat down, stunned. This was no accident. This island wasn't just some forgotten dot on a map. It had once been the center of something amazing, something full of hope. He flipped through a thick binder near the article. Mira's training logs were inside. Each entry detailed Scout's progress. Day 33, Scout responded to new whistle pattern for bring water. Day 47, emergency drill. Scout led me to shelter after alarm, perfect behavior. Then came an entry that made Noah's heart squeeze. Mom and Dad left to fix the radio tower at the mainland. Bad storm rolled in, haven't returned. Noah's hands trembled as he turned the page. Day 59, still alone. Food running low. Fever returned. And the final note, the one that stayed burned in his mind. If someone finds this, Scout is not just a dog. She's my family. She's a rescuer. She's hope. Please don't leave her behind. Noah sat in silence for a long time. He stared at the wall, at Mira's drawings, her scribbled words, her determination. Scout walked over and rested her head on his knee. He stroked her fur slowly. She saved me too, Mira, he whispered. She really did. His throat felt tight. For the first time in a year, tears finally came. He didn't try to stop them. They fell heavy and hot, soaking into Scout's fur as she stayed still beside him. Noah cried for Mira, for her parents, for the girl who wanted to save the world and never got the chance. He cried for Lily too, for all the nights he had shut the door on his own heart. But with each tear, something inside him softened, like a knot untangling. Later that evening, he and Scout explored the rest of the building. In a metal storage locker, he found several unopened food cans, a tarp, and, most important, a solar-charged emergency radio, still intact and flashing a faint green light. His fingers shook as he turned the dial. It crackled with static at first. Then a voice broke through. "If anyone is receiving this signal, please respond." Noah stared at it, then slowly turned it off. Not yet. He needed time. He needed to say goodbye. That night, Noah and Scout sat by a new fire just outside the building. He held Mira's journal in one hand and stroked Scout's ears with the other. "You waited here for someone to come," he said softly. "All this time." Scout looked up at him, eyes glowing in the firelight. "I don't think I believe in accidents anymore," he said. "I think you were always meant to find me." Scout didn't bark. She didn't move. She just leaned against him, and he understood. The next morning, Noah hiked to the southern tip of the island. From a high cliff, he could see the endless ocean stretching far into the horizon. He brought the radio with him. As the wind tugged at his jacket, he clicked it on and held it to his lips. "This is Noah Grant," he said, voice rough. "I'm alive. I'm with a trained dog named Scout. We're on South Culmore Island. If anyone hears this, we're ready to come home." He let go of the button and waited. The silence that followed felt like forever. Then, "Copy that. Receiving your signal. Rescue team en route. Estimated arrival 36 hours. He stared at the device. His hand shook. Scout barked once, loud and joyful. Noah smiled. Over the next 2 days, Noah packed what he could. Mira's journal, the photos, the flare gun. He left the drawings on the wall untouched. This was still Mira's place, and now he understood it wasn't meant to be erased. It was meant to be remembered. He found a wooden signpost near the garden behind the shack. With a pocket knife, he carved one word into it: Haven. Scout stood beside him as he drove the post into the ground. "This place saved me," he whispered. Scout licked his hand once, and they sat together under the stars for what would be their last night on the island. The sky was grey the next morning. Not stormy, just soft and quiet, like the island itself was preparing to say goodbye. Noah sat on a rock near the cliff's edge, the emergency radio beside him, silent now. He held the flare gun in his lap, turning it over in his hands like it was a coin he couldn't decide to spend. Scout sat a few feet away, sniffing the breeze, ears twitching. "No sign of them yet," Noah said, glancing out at the water. "But they'll come." Scout didn't move. She only blinked slowly, as if she knew exactly what was going on inside him. Noah looked back at the forest. The trails, the broken shack they'd fixed up, the pictures of Mira on the wall, the spot where they carved heaven. It already felt like a part of him, a part he didn't know if he could leave behind. That afternoon, he packed slowly. Each item into his bag felt like a decision. The journal, the compass, a worn piece of rope Scout had used as a toy. He paused at the photo of Mira hugging a younger Scout. "I wish I'd known you," he said softly. "But in a way, I do." Scout walked up and nudged his leg. Noah crouched and wrapped his arms around her. Her fur was rough, but her presence had become something smooth and steady in his life, like a heartbeat he could count on. He whispered, "I don't think you were waiting for Mira's parents anymore. I think you were waiting for someone like me." Scout whined gently, then pulled away and walked to the door. She barked once. "Yeah," he said. "Okay, let's go." They hiked to the southern cliff again. The ocean was calm now. In the far distance, a small speck moved across the water. A boat. Scout barked again and sat. Noah felt his heart twist. He turned around, looking back one more time at the trees, the trails, the makeshift home they'd built together. "This place," he said, "gave me a reason to breathe again. And you gave me something even bigger." Scout stood and pressed against his side. He held up the flare gun, then paused. "Scout, what if I'm not ready?" She looked up at him. No bark, no wag, just those deep brown eyes, full of trust, full of quiet answers. He sat down beside her, suddenly overwhelmed. "I came here to end something," he said, "and instead I found the beginning of something I didn't expect." He stared at the flare gun again. Back when he arrived, it had seemed like hope. Now it felt like a goodbye. The sun dipped lower in the sky. The rescue boat grew closer. Noah could hear the low hum of its engine now, faint but real. "I could stay," he said out loud. "We could stay here forever." Scout tilted her head, but then, without warning, she walked over and nudged the flare gun in his hand. He stared at her. She barked once, loud, clear, decided. Noah exhaled slowly. He lifted the gun toward the sky, aimed high, and pulled the trigger. The flare shot upward with a hiss, burning bright red against the dimming clouds. Scout sat beside him, watching as the spark slowly faded. 30 minutes later, the rescue boat reached the shore. 2 people stepped out, 1 man and 1 woman, both in rescue jackets. "You must be Noah," the man called out, stepping through the trees. "We heard your call. Thought we might have lost the signal when the clouds rolled in." Noah nodded. "I'm Matt," the man said. "This is Layla. We brought supplies and blankets. You okay?" Noah glanced at Scout, who stood calmly by his side. "I'm better than I've been in a long time." They led him down the path. As the boat came into view, Layla pointed at Scout. "Is this the dog you mentioned?" Noah smiled. "That's Scout. She's not just a dog. She's the reason I'm alive." Matt looked impressed. "She followed you the whole time?" "No," Noah said, shaking his head. "I followed her." They stepped onto the boat together. Scout hopped up with ease, tail swishing slightly as if she understood it was time. Noah sat beside her, one hand on her back. As the boat pulled away from the island, he didn't cry. Instead, he stared at the trees slowly disappearing from view and whispered, "Thank you." Scout rested her head on his knee. The island grew smaller, but the feeling in his chest grew larger. Not grief, not guilt, but purpose. Back on the mainland, the world was louder, busier, different. But Noah didn't feel lost in it anymore. He brought Scout to a vet who declared her incredibly healthy for a dog who lived alone so long. She didn't live alone, Noah thought. She waited with a mission. He found Mira's story from old news records. Her parents had never been found, but the project she started, Project Guide Dog, had been quietly archived. Noah revived it. He started speaking about Myra and Scout, at schools, at animal shelters, at rescue groups. He told people about how a 10-year-old genius trained a dog to do what most people couldn't, save a life with love, patience, and loyalty. He called the new foundation the Mira Project. Its goal, to train dogs not just for rescue missions, but for emotional healing, for grief, for trauma, for loneliness. Scout became the first ambassador. The day they opened the first Mira Project Center, Noah stood at the front holding Scout's leash. Children played nearby, and families gathered around the sign at the entrance. The Mira Project, where hope finds its way back. A little girl ran up to Scout, her hair in pigtails, holding a stuffed bunny. "Can I pet her?" she asked. Noah knelt down. "Of course, she's here to help." Scout sat patiently as the girl gently stroked her fur. Noah looked up at the sky. "I made it, Lily," he whispered. "I didn't give up." Scout nuzzled the girl's hand, then turned back toward Noah, her eyes soft and wise. And Noah knew. The choice to live had been the right one. The center bustled with quiet joy. Children giggled in the courtyard, tossing soft toys to eager puppies. Volunteers, some teenagers, some retired nurses, walked the grounds with calm patience, gently coaching nervous dogs through early training steps. Laughter and light barking echoed off the cream-colored walls, softened by the vines growing up from the garden beds. Noah stood near the main gate, his hand resting on Scout's back. She sat tall beside him, older now, her muzzle graying slightly, but her posture proud. It had been a year since they left the island, and in that time the world had changed around them. But more importantly, Noah had changed too. After launching the Mirror Project, things moved fast, too fast at first. News outlets picked up the story. Stranded man rescued by dog trained by missing child genius. People were fascinated by the mystery of Mira Holland and amazed by Scout's unbelievable intelligence and loyalty. But Noah never chased attention. He focused on the work. He told Mara's story with care, making sure people understood she wasn't just a child prodigy. She was a girl who loved her dog and believed that animals could save us if we gave them the chance. That belief had saved him, and now it was saving others too. The Mirror Project grew with the help of donations, grants, and volunteers. It didn't just train dogs for physical rescue, it trained them for emotional rescue too. Children with anxiety, veterans with PTSD, elderly people who had lost their spouses, people who had stopped smiling, stopped laughing, stopped living. The dogs changed that. One paw at a time. Noah looked out at the training field. On the far side, a group of kids was taking turns giving simple commands to a large black lab named Bramble. Each time he followed a command: sit, come, touch. The children clapped and squealed. Nearby, an older woman sat in a chair beside a golden retriever, both of them basking in the sun. Her daughter had told Noah just last week that the woman hadn't spoken more than 2 words in months until she met her dog. Now she was smiling again, talking, laughing. Hope had returned. "Mr. Grant?" Noah turned. A teenage girl in a yellow vest stood behind him holding a clipboard. "Yes, Emily? There's a visitor in the lobby. Says she has something for you." Noah raised an eyebrow. "Who is it?" "She didn't say, but she asked for you by name." Noah exchanged a glance with Scout. The dog stood up slowly, her tail wagging gently. Together they walked inside. The Mirror Project's lobby was calm and welcoming, filled with dog art drawn by children, large couches and softly playing music. A few people sat near the windows, sipping tea or reading. But in the corner, facing away from the entrance, stood a woman in her mid-30s. Wavy black hair, a red scarf tucked into her coat. She turned when she heard the door. Her eyes locked on Noah's. They were brown, like Mira's. "Noah?" she asked. "Yes," he said, stepping forward. "That's me. I'm Clara, Mira's cousin." Noah blinked. Clara smiled gently, but there was sadness in her eyes. "I heard your story. I recognized Scout, and the photos, and Mira's name. I couldn't believe it at first, but then I saw the handwriting in the journal you shared online. It was hers." Noah swallowed hard. "We were the same age," Clara said, her voice softer now. "She used to mail me drawings, letters. We were pen pals. She always talked about Scout. She said she was going to change the world." "She did," Noah whispered. Clara reached into her bag and pulled out a small wooden box. "This was her favorite keepsake box," she said. "I thought, if anyone should have it now, it's you." Noah took it with care. Inside were folded drawings, a plastic friendship bracelet, and a tiny stone carved with the word breathe. "She carried this in her pocket," Clara said. Said it helped her feel calm. Scout stepped forward then, sniffing Clara's hand. She licked it once, Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I never got to say goodbye," she whispered. Noah nodded. "Neither did I." But standing there now, surrounded by everything Mira had unknowingly inspired, they both understood something important. Mira had never truly left. Weeks later, Noah stood at a podium in front of a crowd. Scout lay curled at his feet, resting. It was the official opening of the Mira Memorial Wing, dedicated to children and teens struggling with grief and emotional trauma. Behind him stood walls covered in art, stories, and photos, some drawn by young survivors, others submitted by families who had benefited from the program. A microphone stood in front of him, but he didn't speak from a script. "I used to think survival was about staying alive," Noah said, "but it's more than that. It's about feeling again. It's about remembering who we are and what we still have to give." He looked down at Scout. "She saved me, and she was trained by a girl who believed in second chances more than anyone else I've ever known." He paused. "Some people wait their whole lives to find their purpose. Mine found me on a beach, with 4 legs and a heartbeat." The audience stayed silent for a moment, then burst into applause. Years passed. Scout grew slower, her steps careful, her eyes still kind. She became a legend in her own right, not just for surviving the island, but for everything she helped build afterward. She inspired a generation of service dogs. She became the face of resilience, shown in photos at conferences, animal welfare events, and grief centers. And eventually, when she grew too old to lead, she rested, peacefully, with Noah at her side. Noah buried her beneath the oak tree that stood behind the Mira Project's training field. He placed a stone there, simple and small. Scout, the one who showed the way. Each morning after that, he would visit her tree before starting his day. And every time a new child came in, nervous and unsure, he would tell them Scout's story. How she waited, how she saved, how she led someone back to life, and how she proved that even in the quietest corners of the world, hope is still waiting to be found.